Hi everybody and welcome to Taking Care of Business. We're here today to talk about what the sellers need to know in the Dubai property market. We're with Head of Sales Progression, Jessica Stephenson.
That'll be me with my full Sunday name.
Very nice. That's when you told off, Jessica.
Yeah.
And we're here with Paul Kelly.
Hello.
Operations Director of Allsopp and Allsopp. I know what you do today. So talking about what sellers need to know, having an expert like yourself on, Jessica is a fantastic tool for anyone watching the podcast. Tell everyone about what you do first so we get an understanding for how in-depth your knowledge will be.
Sure. So we handle, or our team handles, the sales progression team, the contracts from once the agents have had them signed, so buyer and seller, they've been out viewing, they've done all the exciting things, you've found the property, you've agreed with your move-in date, all of that. Then the case comes over to the sales progression team, and it's really our expertise to get the property from that point of signing the contract to getting the title deed in the buyer's name. So, okay. And everything that comes along.
So
with
you
that.
get all the boring bits.
Absolutely, devil's in the details with us. I'm afraid.
What's interesting in the role that you're in is there is no official role in Dubai for what you call in the UK a property conveyancer.
Yeah.
So if you go to another estate agency that wasn't Allsopp and didn't have a sales progression team, they would have to do all the back end themselves.
Honestly, I wouldn't envy anybody having to do that on their own. It might seem like something that maybe your agent could do, or you'd think, well, of course, that the agent should know about this, or how would they do it? But the reality is, we're doing it day in, day out, and it's quite a specialised thing. And I think that you can easily get sidetracked by thinking, that sounds easy, I just need NOC and transfer. Yeah. Surely there's nothing more to it. It is so much more intricate than that, and there are so many pitfalls. So that's why we have such a specialised team.
The fear for me on it is, if I was selling my house, I wouldn't know this unless I'd used our services, is you're handing your money over to an estate agent who is not a trained lawyer, that doesn't have an accounting team behind them. I mean, you've just sold one of my houses. We transferred yesterday, and I didn't turn up to any appointments. If you want to do POA, Jess will do power of attorney for you and do everything for you, so thank you for that, Jess.
No problem.
But you sent me a statement of accounts, how much money was owed to the bank, how much money was due to me, the seller, how much service charge you paid, how was the rent refund. I don't get how you can't employ someone, a sales progression company, to do that. It is worth it. It's weight in gold.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm the same. I would completely agree. And it's one of those things, like, I just had to renew like our home insurance. It's one of those things that you really don't want to pay for. Like, I don't want to pay for home insurance. I want to go shopping and buy exciting things. Yeah. But it's one of those things that I know I need to do.
Just lose some it once a year and claim it back. Oh no, make it your value for money. Oh no.
Yeah, that's one way of getting around it. But it's just so important to have something specialised, I think, and somebody that can really, that does it day in, day out, because people have busy jobs and they're, professional people, and your own job inside out, and I think it's great to have somebody to take care of that for you who's specialised in that.
Before we go on to what sellers need to know, how much is the fee for using conveyancing and how much is a power of attorney fee through Allsopp and Allsopp?
So the sales progression fees are at 7,500. That includes the VAT.
Okay.
And if you want to give us a power of attorney like you did, so you didn't come to any appointments,
just collect your money.
Exactly.
Or collect your house.
Here's your check. Here's your house. Then our fees are 5,000 plus VAT for acting as POA.
Perfect. That's enough of the cold pitch onto the spot. Are we on Spotify? We are on Spotify.
We're everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what sellers need to know in the property market. So the first one that we've got noted down here is reality check, is what you said off camera before.
Yes.
Talk me a little bit through what you mean by reality check in the Dubai property market with the seller.
Well, it's a tongue-in-cheek, glib comment.
Glib?
Yeah.
Is that a word?
I hope it's
I'm not sure, but
a word that
it.
fits.
I'm not having it. I need to Google glib in a minute. I don't think that's a word. But okay, glib.
Just saying a reality check. But it really encompasses a lot of things. One, in terms of the market price and situation, because as soon as the papers get filled with a couple of good headlines of record transactions or this, that and the other, some sellers, I don't want to badmouth the whole market.
You're about to.
Think that their property is automatically worth 50% more than what it was 2 days ago.
Get carried away, isn't it? You do see that a lot.
But that is every homeowner. I mean, I'm no different. I buy a house, and from what I bought it for to a week later, I'm saying it's worth a lot more money. So I do get, and that's from reading the news, isn't it? You read the news, and a lot of sellers don't have that reality check. So how do you get over that if you're a seller?
Well, if you're a seller, two things I would do. One, have a detailed look online to see what else is on the market and what comparable options are in the market.
Yeah.
But two, talk to a real estate agent, because any trusted real estate agent has access to land department data these days. So they'll be able to sit down in front of you and tell you, this is what this what your neighbour sold for 2 months ago. This is what the one down the road sold for, X, Y, Z. So be able to build up a really clear picture of actual transactions in the market and what's happening in the market.
I think that's what a good estate agent does. So if you go to the UK, what happens, and again, the UK is a lot more, I'm not going to say advanced, but there is more structure involved in the day-to-day from the back end to the front end. In the UK, you invite a estate agent round, or you speak to them on the phone, and they will tell you what they think it's worth, and they sort of select you. You know what I mean? It's not the and what happens in Dubai, a seller will call up and their villa's worth 2 million, and they will say, okay, we're going to give it to you, we'd like 4 million. Okay.
Call me when it's at 4.
Call me when it's at 4 million. And I think from my point of view, what you said a minute ago, if you are a seller in this market, speaking to an agent, we have the data to show sold comparables. So that's probably the biggest thing that any seller should be doing at the moment is asking for sold comparable data to make sure they're not wasting the time.
Yep, sold comparable. Even we can go into depth of people like market trends, like buyer demand, what's popular searches are happening at the moment. So depends how in depth you want to go as an owner, but we can build a really full picture of quite a lot of different data points from the market to let them know what's happening.
Okay, so then obviously we've got onto the key component for me is viewings.
Yeah.
How many times have we spoken to sellers that say, don't bring someone round unless they're going to buy my house?
It's the craziest thing.
Or I'd like to list it, but they're not allowed to see it. Don't get me wrong, in 2006 when I come to Dubai, what would happen is someone would go, hi, I've got an 01 unit in Marina Tower, it's 3.5 million, and they would go, okay, cool, I'd like to buy that.
Yeah.
And I had done a lot of transactions on that, but Dubai is not the same as it was in 2006. So, I mean, there are crazy amounts of sellers that are saying, I don't want viewings to happen on my house, but there's no point listing the house, is there?
No, absolutely. I think, as somebody who would go out viewing, you've got to get people through the door. You can write things off so quickly by, as a potential buyer, go, no, I'm not interested in that. But you need to get people through the door to really get a feel of what they want and if the house is going to work for you.
Yeah. Especially when the viewing to sale ratio is 24 to 1 at the moment.
It's high.
So each client, every property that we have, the average ratio is 24 viewings to 1 sale. So if you're not doing viewings,
it's almost impossible, and it's impossible to sell it at a price that the properties you're going to deservedly get, because unless you're getting enough people through the door, you're not going to generate the offers that's going to generate a transaction. You're going to get that, maybe if you're lucky you sell it, but it's going to be to someone who's just thrown an offer in and they're a bit glib about the offer that they're putting forward.
Right, let me just get this on that. I'm just going to put in Google now, GLIB, is that how you say it?
I don't know if we want to know what that means.
Okay, glib is an adjective for fluent, insincere and shallow. You are hammering sellers today.
No, so buyer might put a glib offer forward.
You call sellers glib, shallow sellers.
Buyers have destroyed the market.
You did it. No one's going to call us after we finish with you.
But if someone feels this pressure that they can't view unless they buy, then maybe they are. You're not reaching the masses of the market. You're not getting everyone through the door.
Agreed.
So you're not going to get an offer that the property probably deserves to get.
Okay, so viewings and allowing them is an important part of estate agency.
It sounds so basic, doesn't it? But it's so true. You just need to let people in your house.
It's like imagine going to a car garage and they go, I've got this lovely Ford Fiesta for you, it's blue. Okay, can I see it? No. Would you like to put a deposit down? No, it's blue though, and it's a Fiesta.
Well, the worst is when they say, "Can you show them from the outside first?"
Yeah.
I'm just going to take someone's going to get them out the office to come and sit outside the house and say, "Do you like the look of it?"
Go into car garage, just like pull out. So that's it in the window. Then you can't go near the car
unless you want to come back next week
with cash. Okay, so next thing we go on to with sellers, multiple agencies, and why this isn't a good thing. We do have some more technical aspects to talk about in the sale, but these are basic marketing tools. So, Jess, explain what's happening from your point of view with sellers at the moment listing with multiple agencies.
For me, I think it's a matter of you're almost flooding the market with sort of your own property, and what that will then look like to a buyer is there's 4 of those units that I really want, and I'll then put my foot off the gas and think there's 4 of them available, so I know that I can, when I'm ready, I can go and I can look at them and I can put in an offer, and that'll be easy. But the reality is it's actually your one property, so you've alienated the buyer's market thinking there's plenty availability. You're actually only that one house. So I think it can be so detrimental. You think that's what you're doing the right thing, because I'm covering from a seller's perspective. They might think, well, I'm covering all bases. If they've got buyers, they've got buyers. But what you're actually doing is making it look to buyers like there's more availability than there actually is. And
what do you see the knock-on effect with that with pricing when there's multiple agents looking at one property?
Well, 2 things. One, what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of buyers will put offers through multiple different agents, because they'll, from the buyer's perspective, they'll think, well, I'll try 3 different agents and I'll see which one's the best negotiator and which one will get the lowest price. When in reality, what the seller's feedback's getting in is they think they've got 3 different buyers.
Yeah, they're going to get more money. They're all lowballing the seller, aren't they? That's just how it is.
Or unfortunately, some unscrupulous agents in Dubai, if they hear that a seller's
glib agents.
These glib agents.
If they hear that the seller's got an offer through another real estate agent, they'll often try and muddy the waters a little bit. Maybe they'll come in with a fake offer, or they'll try and talk the seller out of a deal, or one thing or another.
Okay, so we're advising sellers to list with one agency, to give one voice, one opinion, and more importantly, not flood the market with one listing, with 5 listings of really.
100%. And maybe it's because I operated in the UK market, but I think that's a model that really works for sellers, because not every seller is going to click with every agent. So have 2, 3, 4 agents out, give them an interview almost of their knowledge, their expertise, what they're bringing to the table, but also whether you can work with them, because for a lot of our sellers, we deal, like we've said so many times, with end users, so their property is their biggest asset. Work with someone that you get on with and you feel you've got a rapport and a relationship with, because you're going to have to work together to achieve the sale of your property. You don't just...
The one type of agent you wouldn't want is what agent? A glib agent. A shallow agent. It's just not what you wanted. So working one agent is key. So we're going to get something juicy now for the listeners and the watchers. There'll be watchers as well. The watchers. The watchers, the ones on WhatsApp, the one that never respond but watch. That's you.
That's me.
That's terrible at that. Paul Kelly has watched, never responds. Okay, so for the listeners and watchers out there, we're going to talk about something juicy that we've been involved in, that I think estate agents in Dubai are going to want to know, and especially sellers. So as the market's gone up, a lot of sellers are backing out with a higher offer. So what would happen is that the seller would sell their house, and then they would say, well, I'm not selling it now. And what would happen at that point is they would go and transfer the house to the different buyer, receive more money, and happily ever after. That's not actually the case for sellers, and I think it's important we talk about something specific where you're going to come and talk about this for us. Explain what an attachment order is and what's happening in the real estate market with this.
Yeah, so exactly like you're saying, and unfortunately it is happening that sellers, maybe it's a purely financial decision, or for whatever reason that they're doing this, we would get into a contract, seller has signed to sell the house, agreed a price, and the way, either whether it's the reality of the market or whether it's agents pushing up prices because they know that property is currently sold, I could have got you this or that, and then they're coming with offers. What from a seller's perspective they're seeing is, well, now I can get this much more money for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore this contract, and I'm going to go and sell this property to somebody else for a higher offer while I'm still in this contract. So unfortunately it does mean that brokers do have to get a bit more litigious than they used to be in Dubai. We have to go down that road, but there's something now available called an attachment order. And what we can do is, if that's the case where somebody has clearly gone and sold the property to somebody else while you're already in the contract, is we can apply to the court, to the judge, and appeal to them that this person has withdrawn from the sale. We believe they're about to sell the asset, so there will be then nowhere to then further claim the penalty from the buyer or the penalty due to the broker. So if there's a very real risk of the seller getting rid of the asset and then there being nowhere no recourse for the buyer,
Yep.
then you can apply for an attachment order, and the judge would grant this on the basis that a full case is registered within 7 days of the attachment order being placed. But what the attachment order would do is it means that there's effectively like a lien on the property registered against it. So when that person does go and sell it, there is a recourse, and that they would go to the land department and that they would say, sorry, look, there is something in the system. There is a case registered against this property, and therefore you can't sell it to somebody else because you were in a contract with someone.
Very powerful.
One else. It is. I mean, it's a huge deterrent for people that were thinking of doing that. You have to sort out your first sale before you can.
I think
think about going forward.
What sellers don't understand, I think it's important to address this, is that there is people's livelihoods on the line with this, and I think there is financial attachments. People. It's not like Dubai 2006, which I said this before, where someone's buying an investment. What has happened in this market is someone agrees to buy a house. Normally, they've sold the house that they were living in, or they've moved out of the accommodation. There is a financial chain of people involved. So, a seller just saying in today's market, "Sorry, I'm not selling," there has to be a penalty. So I'm glad that the courts have put that in order. So in basic terms, you're selling your house. If you pull out, an agency can now put an attachment order against you and have 7 days to claim a court case against you to ensure that the property is not sold and it is blocked at the land department.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You happy with that?
Yeah, superb for the market, because I think it is further maturity in the market, and there's nowhere else in the world that people would just think, oh, I've signed a contract, but don't worry, I'll just sign another one and X, Y, Z.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's fantastic for Dubai that there's now recourse, and easily available recourse in the market for if someone does try to do that. It's what's needed.
Yeah, and as you say, for buyers, there could be a family, they've got into temporary accommodation, you've got 3 kids, a couple of dogs, and then somebody says, sorry, I'm not selling.
Sounds like a good life.
But it can be really, stressful, especially if somebody.
Especially for them glib buyers.
Especially,
out there.
Must be.
Okay, so we've got a couple of quick snap questions I'm going to go through with you now. So, service charges. Sellers need to clear them.
Yeah, just there's a lot of detail and probably the not so fun stuff, but the life admin that you need to clear out of the way before you're selling, all the things you meant to do earlier and put it off.
So when you've sold a house,
clear them.
Okay.
Pay them up to date.
And what will that enable?
To get the NOC from the developer.
Okay.
So you'll probably need to pay a bit in advance as well, which we would get the buyer to reimburse on transfer. But get your service charges cleared. If they've been outstanding for a while, get that done and out of the way.
So you can't proceed with the sale once you've agreed it and go to the next stage unless your service charges are clear. Exactly.
So the developers are still heavily involved. Even when you come to sell, you might have fully paid your payment plan and everything else, but you still need their permission to sell the property. So to show there's nothing due to them, I'm fully paid up, there's no late payment fees, I'm clear with the developer, you can go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so next one we've got on here is relevant title deeds. So we've met a few owners that go to sell the house and haven't got the documents in place.
Yeah, they've either not got the title deed, or maybe they got married, or even
congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, not congratulations.
Could be. Yeah. You never know.
What is if it's not congratulations? It's
commiserations.
So it's one or the other.
Yeah.
So the title deed no longer matches the name on the passport. Okay. So we need to make sure that the documents are linked and the documents are updated with you.
Okay. Otherwise, you just can't transfer.
Details. Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Or you can't on that. It's just elongates the process.
Okay.
Yeah. It makes it a longer process, because then you need to reapply for a title deed. It's going to add a few weeks onto the transaction. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. So things that can delay: service charges, relevant title deed. Next thing that's always a bit of an issue at the moment is tenancies in property. So what's happening at the moment? People want to sell the house. Generally, they're tenanted. We're normally selling to an end user. What's the process in very short terms for the tenancy cancellations or notifications to an applicant?
So the landlord, or the seller in this case, would probably want to give a 365-day notice to their tenant to say that they are either moving into the property or selling the property. So they would want to give that notice so that they can appeal to end users as well.
Sorry, my phone is my watch is pinging off, so I'm just putting it on silent. So
no, I'm glad it's yours and not ours.
Oh yeah, I know.
Glib buyers.
glib podcasters out there, shallow podcasters. So interestingly though, that's the basics 365 that they'd have to give. The property that I sold recently, or in fact you're doing another one for me at the moment, there is a tenant in there that had a 12-month tenancy. What did we do to chop that down?
I think you signed a mutually vacating notice.
Correct.
Mutual vacating notice. So the tenant can agree with you and say, I don't need my 365 days.
Yeah.
I don't need that from you. I'm happy to move out.
Yeah.
And a buyer generally isn't going to accept that from a seller as they've said they'll move out.
Yeah.
They would probably want something a bit more formal.
Yeah.
And to do that, they can go to the court and ask to notarize a letter basically saying, I am happy to leave on this date.
Okay.
And they could notarize that.
So if there's a tenancy in place, making sure that you're either going to arrange a termination with them, get it in writing, or agree with the buyer and the seller, the tenant, what the next process is going to be, which is a lot of people just trying to avoid that because they don't want the awkward conversation with the tenant to say, I know you live there, but you got to leave. It's a bit of an awkward one, isn't it?
But also at least start conversations with the tenant, because I remember so many times when I was an agent, you'd call the tenant up and say, be like, what do you mean the owner's selling? I don't know anything about this.
Panic.
Yeah.
But have a good relationship with the tenant as well. You know, you might need to have that conversation with them one day. So, you know, be reasonable with them throughout the
Send them Christmas
exactly.
presents.
Send them, when's their birthday?
Okay, and the final point I've got in here for what sellers need to do to sell the house, and this is a big one that comes up a lot. Modifications. What happens with modifications? In fact, I'll tell you a little story. I think it's important. Again, this is regarding my transaction of my house. I had some work done on my house, and we went to transfer, and then I didn't realise till afterwards, when we were right at the end, that the NOC was rejected. You take over.
So if you have modified your house, in this case I think it was your swimming pool, then you will need to make sure that you've got the proper approvals for it at the time. And it might be the case that you did in fact get the proper approvals at the time, which you actually did in this case.
I did.
But now if you need more approvals, so that for example there's DDA approvals, which used to be Dubai Municipality,
and DDA wasn't around when I bought my house, so I went to complete on the house and they said they didn't have DDA approvals, and I was like, DDA didn't exist then. I got municipality approvals. So anyone that has a pool at the moment, realistically,
you should have the DDA approvals to get it. There are some developers who will insist on having that to get the NOC, and there's some developers who are happy and they understand that you didn't need it at the time, but some developers will insist in order to give you an NOC that you go and get. Well, there's always a financial element.
Developers.
So they will ask you to get what's the word? Retrospective approvals for it. But then there are other developers like Nikhil, for example. There's a lot of people have modified their Nikhil villas. So you need to have got the Nikhil approvals, and it needs to be registered in their system what you've done, because they will come and have a look at your villa. So if you've enclosed a balcony, or if you've added built-up area, they're going to charge you for all of these things. Even if you're a cash seller
and you're a cash buyer and you both got cash, when you go to NOC with Nikhil, no matter what, they've got a visitation team that will come and look at what you're doing.
Absolutely. So any villa that's owned by Nikhil, they even inspect apartments. Even if you're cash to cash, there's no valuation, anything like that, the developer will still go around and they will have a look, and they are looking for anything that you have structurally modified that isn't as per their system. So there's a few aspects to it. Of course, there's a financial aspect in that they charge fees for any kind of modifications.
Oh, I know.
But some of it as well is, does it still meet fire regs? Is it actually still safe? Does it fit in with the master community? So while it is, a lot of bureaucracy and more red tape that we've got to go
isn't
through,
it, for gated communities?
It's
effectively
still, it's to stop people, putting a really monstrous extension on their house.
So if you own a house in Dubai and you are selling a house, make sure you've got all the documentation in place. Otherwise, it will delay the sale, which could have a knock-on effect to your contract. If you were locked into a certain time frame.
And even this one small point, it shows why it's critical to have a sales progression team behind you and helping you through this, because if you're trying to navigate that by yourself and on your own with no experience of all different developers, departments, municipality, DDA, all this kind of business, you're going to be lost.
I wouldn't even know where to start. I'll just WhatsApp Jess. Jess, help me. She'd be like, no problem at all, I'll get it done for you.
It can be an absolute minefield, but as long as you've got keep everything on your drive, keep all your originals, keep everything, all of your documents.
Is there any final tips you would like to give to any sellers listening to the market in the podcast?
I think we've covered it all. So talk to an agent. before you go to the market, make sure you're launching at a price that is going to be competitive in the market, because you don't want to be one of these properties that gets a reputation for sticking around. And make sure you get all your ducks in order. Make sure your paperwork's correct. You've got all your approvals. It's not the process of selling a house. It's not that hard, really. But just do it properly. Don't try and cut corners, is what I'd say to people.
What about yourself? Any final tips for sellers?
Just be realistic with getting organised. Get your life admin in check, I'd say. All that stuff that you think, I'll do that later, like I'll update my marriage certificate and all that.
Good.
Yeah, just get it all done.
Okay, well, I hope this information comes in helpful for any sellers listening to the property market. We will continue our podcast over the coming weeks with more relevant information on the property market. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.